So welcome everybody and good morning. Nice to see you on the call, those who are on the call and whose faces I can see. If not, I'll have to just imagine that I can see you. We're on the Siddur on page 488 in the Art Scroll Siddur, in the Koran, page 567. This is a standalone Shir, but it's also the third part of a three-part series for Kodesh Elul, getting ready for Rosh Hashanah. 3 songs, each of them has an important theme, not only for the day of the week, but also as it relates to Rosh Hashanah. And if you're interested in the other 2, you're welcome to check them out. The song for Thursday, the song for Friday, it's up on YouTube. I think it's on Facebook, somehow archived. I'm not sure how that works. And then what we have here with Shir, Mizmor Shel Yom Shabbat. This is the song of Shabbat. Truth to tell, in the soul of the Siddur series, which has been running now for 3 years, more than 3, maybe 4 years. I'm not even sure. I think 3 years. I've already talked about this chapter previously. It's part of 2 other moments on Shabbat that it's recited. One is on Friday night during Kabbalat Shabbat, and then another one is during Psukei de Zimra on Shabbat morning. So this is the 3rd time that it's recited on a Shabbat day, and at least the 2nd time that I'm giving a shir about it. So I'm trying not to repeat what I spoke about in that shir. So that's one shir about Mizmor Shel Yom Shabbat. This is now another installment on the same subject. Let's get underway, and we'll start learning. If I can ask you just please to mute your phones, there isn't distortion on the line as we go, and I'll just put it up so that we can have some common conversation, if you will, on the subject of this chapter. So here we are. Shir Shel Yom Shabbat Kodesh. It's a song from the beginning to the end. Let me explain what I mean by that as we progress through the song. First, a little story about the song for Shabbat. And it's told by Rabbi Levi in the Medrash Tehillim. Rabbi Levi Amar, She'adam, let me try to get rid of the, hold on, no. There we go. Rabbi Levi Amar, She'adam Harishon Avar al Tzivuv Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when Adam Harishon already violated the command of Hashem not to eat from the fruit, Yashav alav bedin l'sapek lo. So already he was going to be judged. Keitzad ata motzib erev Shabbat nivra ad. How did this happen? So here's the timeline. On erev Shabbat, the human being was created. In the first hour, it was in God's mind, so to speak. In the second, God consulted with the ministering angels. In the third, he got of the earth together, the physical component to create the human being. And the fourth, it was mixed in like dough is mixed in with water, so it was already the formation of same. And in the fifth was already the contours, not just of a glob of something intermingled of elements, but now coming into its actual form. In the 6th hour, Hashem weaved the human being, means already the fine details. In the 7th, did he give the human being the life, the breath of life? He got his neshama. In the 8th hour, he stood on his feet, Adam Harishon. In the 9th hour, God commanded him. In the 10th hour, he sinned. In the 11th hour, he was already being judged. That's the first reference to the 11th hour. In the 12th hour, he was expelled from the Garden of Eden. However, Ba litein lo afifusin, nichnas Shabbat ufino misham. He was going to get his final judgment. Pufasin is according to the translators, seems to be a some kind of judgment. A final judgment was going to be rendered. But in came Shabbat, and Shabbat somehow rescued him from there. What does that mean? So here's what's described. Ba Yom HaShabbat Nasa lo Sanegor. Shabbat itself became the defense attorney for Adam Harishon. V'amar lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribon HaOlamim, Master of the worlds. B'sheshit yemei ha'masa lo ne'anash Adam me'olam. In all 6 days of the week, no human beings have ever been punished. Now, it's not a great argument because there were no human beings, but okay. But you have to suspend disbelief. The day of Shabbat is having conversation with Hashem. Yeah? We understand the imagery, hopefully. Ubiyat HaMatchil, you're starting with me. I'm going to be known as the day of the week of punishments of those who are guilty. Zuhi Kedushati. V'zui menuchati, that's the sanctity of the day. You sanctified Shabbat already, Hashem, and you made it a day of rest. That's the rest. Is that there's punishments? B'shvil Shabbat nitzah Adam midin shel Gehenim. On account of Shabbat, was a human being, was Adam Harishon saved from the judgment of going to Gehenna. Kevin Shara Adam Kochash Shabbat. As soon as Adam realized the power of Shabbat, Ba Adam Lomar Shabbat Himnun. He came to announce to Shabbat a certain song of praise for Shabbat. So Amar Lo HaShabbat Liato Omer Himnun. You're singing the song to me, the day of Shabbat. Ani ve'ata nomar himnun LaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let's go together, you and me, the day of Shabbat, and Adam Harishon will sing together a song to Hashem, and that's Tov Lahodot La Hashem. That's what it means. It's good to give thanks to Hashem. What's going on here? So a few things. Firstly, it's a beautiful story about the original authorship of this chapter of Tehillim that really it heralds already from the very beginning of human creation. Number one, of creation of humanity, rather. Number one. Number two, the idea that the day is personified and that it has a certain character, if you will, of protection, of defense, of being itself a reprieve for a human being. It's from here that we learn the idea that the souls that are no longer in the world, those that are being judged, whatever that means, beyond this world by a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that they may have a sentence that they're in Gehenna, so they get a reprieve every Shabbat. That's why we tell somebody, a man who's in the middle of the 12 months of mourning, will be asked, or a person who has Yurtzeit, a coming week, they'll daven for the Amid on Saturday night. The Neshamot, as it were, have a reprieve for this period of time. Now, Adam Harishon was created on Friday, the day he was created of the week. What day of the year do we commemorate that? On Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the day of creation of Adam Harishon. We talked about that last week more extensively. And here is also the day that the human being is being judged. And so the idea that the song for Shabbat is a song that is first born of a certain mistake that Adam Harishon makes, not just the chait that he had, the chait Adam Harishon, but a mistake that he makes about who is owed the thanks. And so therefore he's turning to the day of Shabbat. Let me sing a song of praise to you. And what does Shabbat say to him? No, not me. Let the two of us sing a song to Hashem. Now, if you were with us last week, you know that there was already another example, the Shir of last week, that the animals made a mistake and came to Adam Harishon, wanted to sing a song to Adam, and Adam said, no, not to me. Let's sing a song together to Hashem. And those two stories can be lined up one next to the other, I believe not accidentally. They did. Adam Harishon himself is in a learning curve about the fact that it's not that he should be singing a song to a day of the week. He's singing the song, so to speak, with the day of the week, personified as a defender of his, as a partner made for him, as elsewhere is described in the Medrash. And here, that we'll sing together to Kodesh Baruch Hu. And that makes the song of Shabbat. When was it written? It was written, essentially, on Rosh Hashanah the first time. Someone had a comment. Please go ahead. No? Did I make that up? I made that up. Okay. So if you're not speaking, you just mute your phone. I'd really appreciate it so we don't get distortion on the line while we're going. And that's it. Okay. Moving right along. All of this takes us into the idea that the song is about something that happened in the past. But when we look up the Gemara, we've seen this Gemara already for 7 weeks. This will be the 7th week of looking at this section of the Talmud. What is it? It's a listing of the song for each day that was sung in the Beit HaMikdash. Why was it being sung? What's the function of it? Each of the days, we have this as a limud, as something that was taught in the name of Rabbi Akiva. So it's right at the first line. We won't read the whole thing today, but Tanya, we learned Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mishum Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yehuda teaches in the name of Rabbi Akiva. In the first day, what did they say? In the second day, the third, he goes through every day of the week. And each week that we've studied the song of the day, we focused on the one sentence that tells us this is why they're singing it on this day. This is the element of creation that is being amplified through this song. What I try to do each time is to relate whatever's in this line of Gemara with the song, which means to connect the song of the day of the week to what happened in creation. The puzzle, however, is that whereas all of the days are about things that happened in the past, they're all about creation, related to creation. Rabbi Akiva, when he gets to Shabbos, I'm scrolling down, I hope you can see it clearly. It says on the sixth day, what did they say? The Levium. Again, these are the song of in the Beit HaMikdash of the Levium, of the as they were doing the avoda, as the service was happening in the Beit HaMikdash. The Levium would sing each day another song during the time of the Korban Tamid. So Hashem Malach Yud Lavesh Al Shem Shegamar Malachtu Malach Alehen. That's the sixth day. God finished His work and He ruled over them. That was it last week's subject. Now, Bashvi Hayu Omrim. What happened on Shabbos? What did they say? Mizmor Shliyam Shabbat. Now look what it says here. Liyom Shekulo Shabbat, for the day that is entirely Shabbat. Now that, it turns out, according to Rashi and others, is not referring to something that happened in the past, but something that is going to happen in the future. Here's Rashi. Rashi writes, Liyom Shekulo Shabbat, She'atid ha'olam liyot charev. In the future, the world will be destroyed. Ve'ein adam v'chol ha'malachot shoftot al oto yom omrim shir shel Shabbat. Ve'ein adam. There won't be a person left. There won't be any human beings left. There won't be any creatures left. V'chol malachot shoftot. All of the actions, all of the work, all of the goings on, everything will cease on that day. And because of that, we say Shir Shel Shabbat. Not all that comforting, yeah? But it does tell us that the world will not exist forever. It's not eternal. It's not eternal. It's creation. It's not eternal. Eternally going to last. It doesn't mean you have to walk through the street with a sandwich board saying the end of the world is near. But just to recognize, that's what, according to Rabbi Akiva, that's what they're singing about. Liyom Shekulo Shabbat. We reference this in our davening also, right? In the Birkat HaMazon on Shabbat, Sirachman and Chayim Shekulo Shabbat, right? L'chai Olamim. It should give us a day that is entirely. So we have to understand this concept a little bit more. In order to do that, I want you to see the other side of the machloket. It is a machloket about why they sang this song, because Amar Rabbi Nechemia is going to say, as first he asked the question, Ma ro'u chachamim l'chalek ben haprakim halalu? Why would the sages have split between one section, the first 6 days, and the last day? Follow your eye down here to Rashi. I'm down here again with Rashi. Why did Rabbi Akiva, he writes in the words, what did Rabbi Akiva see to split between these parshiot, the 6 songs for the 6 days as against the days of creation? Shekol sheishet yomim ne'amarin haprakim halalu al shem she'avar v'shel, this word is missing, yom Shabbat, al shem lahaba. Why the 7th day having to do with the future? Why couldn't the 7th day also be about that fact that Hashem created the world and there was a song of the day? So he explains as follows. First, he recites again the first 6, the same as was before, and then he writes the following: B'shvi al shem Shabbat. His Rabbi Nechemia's view is the 7th day's song is because on that day Hashem ceased His work. That's why we're singing it. V'kamiflige b'derav katina. But this is an argument as regards the issue of Rav Katina. The Amar Rav Katina taught Shita alfei shani hava alma. V'chad charuv. The world will exist for 6,000 years. If you ever wondered where that was from, here's one of the places in the Gemara that it quotes it. And for 1,000 years, it will be destroyed. So 7,000 years total. The first 6,000, there'll be a world. The 7,000th year, 7th millennium, there will not be a world, be destroyed. That's an opinion. Shenamar, as it says in the pasuk, v'nizgav Hashem levado bayamahu. God alone will be left on high on that day. Okay, if you davened this morning, so you sang to yourself, Adon Olam. So v'acharei kichlot hakol, and after everything, when everything is gone, livado yimloch nora. He himself alone will still be will be ruling. There's a notion that a Kodesh Baruch Hu's rulership will continue. That's not a notion; it's an ikar of emunah. Irrespective of the existence of the world or not. This should really be Abaye Amar, according to the Bach, not Amar Abaye, but okay, Abaye Amar, Trei Charuv. But Abaye holds that actually the world will be destroyed for 2,000 years span. Shenemar Yechayenu Miyomayim. As it says in the Pasuk in Hosea, He will give us life again from the 2 days. very strange and cryptic Gemara, no doubt. But the idea here is that according to Abaye, it's not 1,000 years, 1 day, but 2,000 years, 2 days that the world will be destroyed. And then after that, then comes the time period of Tchiyat HaMeitim, and everybody will come back. That's a description. Okay? It's sort of a wait and see sort of thing, yeah? Let me scroll down for a moment to remind you what is going on with the days and the thousands. 11 chapters of Tehillim are ascribed to Moshe Rabbeinu. The first one begins with the words, Tefillah LaMoshe. And in that prayer, we have Moshe Rabbeinu, who is obviously writing Al Pi Ruach HaKodesh with divine inspiration. Ki elef shanim beinecha, ki elef shanim beinecha, ki yom etmol, ki ya'avor, ve'ashmura v'layla. 1,000 years in your sight, Hashem, is like a day, like yesterday. It's like a day passing. That it just comes and goes. And like one watch during the night. Very, very short span. In other words, God's concept of time, he's beyond time and space. And so for Hashem, the notion of a day, 1,000 years, it's all the same. And therefore, the references to the days of the week is itself it does refer to days of the week, but it is in a certain way a prefiguring of the map of all of human history and time. 6 days of creation, 6,000 years of the world existing, and then a millennium of time in 1,000 years, which passes like a day from a Kodesh Baruch Hu's perspective for the time period of there being nothing. And then after that, the machloket is it 1,000 years or 2,000 years before Hashem brings everybody back, or at least those who are going to be zoche, to Tchiyat HaMeitim. These are very hard ideas to think about. Now, you might be asking yourself, okay, it's 5780, and it's not too far away from 6,000. It's true. There is a question, though, about how we exactly calculate 5780. It's 5780 according to the Seder Olam Rabbah, a work from the days of the Mishnah, Tanaitic work. And that Sefer tells us the chronology from Adam HaRishon until the present moment. If we did that calculation, we'd come up with a number that happens to equal 5,780. As Chazal remind us, though, the period, not Chazal, but you have a Rishonim explaining already, the period of the 6 days of creation, certainly the first 4, are not actually 24-hour days. They can't be, they shouldn't be, they mustn't be, and as much as the creation of or at least the appearance of the sun, the moon, and the stars, how we would measure time in human terms, that's how we figure it out. We don't have that until the 4th day. So days 1, 2, and 3, and some would argue even the whole beginning of this first period of the 6 days of creation are much, much longer periods of time. They're simply called days because that's a unit of time that we can understand, also that we can have a relationship with. Right? If it's every so many and so many millions of years, you have to remember that Hashem created the world. It doesn't make sense that you don't have Shabbos. So the point is, the template for it is there's a phase 1, 2, 3. Each phase is called a yom. That's what's going on in this Gemara. That's the discrepancy. For Rabbi Akiva, it must be that the idea of Shabbos in the future, since he holds that there's only going to be, I'm back here in the Gemara, Liyom Shkoch, it's only going to be 1,000 years of the world being destroyed. So 6 days equals 6,000 years, like Rav Katina said, and the 7th millennium basically is going to be, everything will be destroyed. Ergo, there's only 1 day, in quotation marks a day, but situtim, that is a day of Shabbat. So we're remembering that on the 7th day of the week, that there is a future. Now we've connected, if you will, the 6 days of creation to the 7th day that is not yet happening. And we have, of course, Me'ein Olam Haba. We say Shabbat is Me'ein Olam Haba. It is a window into the world to come. We have to understand that a little more. I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Reb Nechemia, who disagrees with Rabbi Akiva, says, no. Why do you want to say that? First of all, I think it's Abaye is correct. It's going to be for 2,000 years. So it can't be that the 7th day of the week is a prefiguring of that 7th millennium, because it's really the 7th and the 8th millennia that will both be in this state of whatever it is, of destruction. Sounds rather cataclysmic. It is. The point is, he says, therefore, why wouldn't you just say, logically, 6 days were about the past, the 7th day is also about the past. It's the day that Hashem rested, as it were. Bashvi al Shem Shavat. That's all. So the Gemara then says, well, the argument between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Nechemia is this song about the future, or is it about the past? Is the machloket about how long will the world not exist for when it comes to an end? Okay. Next, Rashi here writes, just joining the idea of 1,000 years is like one day in your sight. Rashi, it's quoted in Rashi until Matzati means either he found or someone in the base medrash of Rashi found and put it in. It's not clear to me what Matzati means here. But he writes, when you, Hashem, thought about the idea of tshuva, mitchila, yafet dantu barata ota. We have a tradition, the Gemara in Yuma says that some of the things in the world, concepts in the world, were created before the world. One of them is the possibility of tshuva. When you, Hashem, thought about tshuva at the very beginning, you made a good judgment, if you will, and you created it. And what's the first example of that? The years were appropriate for this. Lefi, shlohayu yemei bnei adam rabim, shlohayu elef shanim be'einecha, ela ki yom holech ve'avar ve'chalaf u'me'at min halayla imo. Now, what does this mean? The time period of Adam HaRishon's life, he didn't live 1,000 years. How long did he live? 930 years. The Torah says so. Wait a minute. When God, Adam HaRishon, before he sinned, God told Adam and Chava, don't eat from the tree. The day you eat from it, mot tamut, you'll die the day you eat from it. Shari amar til Adam HaRishon, ki biyom achal chamimenu mot tamut. You'll die on that day. But how long did he live for? V'chaya shamel to shloshim shana, he lived 930 years. Nimtzu elef shanim olim liyom shalem u'ma'at min alal imo. So a full day and a little bit of the night that goes with it equals 1,000 years, if you will, from Hashem's perspective. From Hashem's perspective, there's no such thing as time. He's beyond time and space completely. But the point is, the clock, if you will, by God's eyes, if he said it's a day could be 1,000 years. And therefore he told them, you're going to die on this day. So this Rashi here explains it means a day, meaning you'll within that 1,000-year span, you will die. And he died 930 years. Okay, so the point here is the idea that, and Rashi here just pointing out, the connection between Adam HaRishon sinning and Adam HaRishon getting this reprieve that he could live for 930 years, but he still didn't live to 1,000. He didn't even live past 1,000 either. Next, the Marsha on that Gemara that we saw at the beginning of the Shir points out this same idea. The Bo Mishtai Bo Olam Haba, Kmashkadu Bo Ale Asor, cryptic line that the Marsha mentions here. That's something about Olam Haba, and he quotes two words from the song of Shabbat. The beginning of the song is referencing the idea that's a mizmor shir, a type of music, which is the song for Shabbat. It is good to thank Hashem and to make music to his name, the one who is most high. To speak of Hashem's loving kindness in the morning, or your loving kindness in the morning rather, and your faithfulness at night. And then it mentions Alei Asor V'Alei Navel, for the 10-stringed instrument. What is this? What is this instrument that's being referenced? The Marsha says, oh, this song, which is why we sing it on Shabbat, is related to Olam Haba, which is related to this 10-stringed instrument. But he gives you the clue. Kedamrinan be'erchin. The Gemara Masachet Erchin explains this idea. Luckily, I put the Gemara right here from Erchin. What does the Gemara say? Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Kinor Shel Mikdash, Shashiva Nimin Haya. The harp that they played, the string instruments that they played in the Beit HaMikdash had 7 strings on it. As it quotes a pasuk from Sefer Tehillim. 7 strings on all the instruments. V'shel Yemot HaMashiach, Shmona. The instrument that will be played in the days of Mashiach has 8 strings on it. And then, by the way, sorry, let me stop here. I forgot to mention. When we refer today to an octet, even though it's the number 8, is actually 7 notes. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Goes back to the same note again. That's an octet, but it's 7 distinctive notes. When Mashiach comes, there'll be an extra note, if you will. Then, and quoting a pasuk from Tehillim, Shel Olam Haba Aser. But when Olam Haba transpires, there will somehow be, instead of 7 or 8, there will be 10. right? And that's actually right out of our chapter of Tehillim, the song for Shabbat. I don't have time in the few minutes left to go into all the details about what's going on here. I'll say it extremely briefly. It's not just referring literally to instruments and the number of strings. It's referring to different dimensions of the world that will be understood and explored. Instead of 7 facets, there will be 8 and then 10. And the notion of 10 is this complete number. Won't go into it now, but that's what the Maharsha is referring to. He says, that is the Gemara in Erechin, that there's something about this song that bespeaks something about the very, very distant future of the end of the world and beyond the world. And that's in this song. And that explains why the Gemara, according to Rabbi Akiva, says that this is the song not about the past, but a song about the future. The Aruch Laner picked this up also, and he noted that there are many who asked questions about it. And he says basically what is the compulsion? Rabbi Akiva couldn't just say, it's a song about something that happened in the past, a song about creation, 6 days about creation, the seventh day can't be about creation. So the Aruch Laner explains that no, the explanation of Rabbi Akiva is also, he doesn't want to split between the Shir of Shabbat and the Shir of the other days. They're all related to the creation of the world. They're all related, right? But when you look into the song itself, the content of this song is not about the past. The content is basically, it doesn't mention Shabbos. It mentions a world that Hashem has made that has much in it. How great are your works? So that fits. But it's not about the theme of Shabbat per se, other than saying Mizrah Shaliyam HaShabbat. The word Shabbat doesn't even appear. So therefore, Rabbi Akiva had to explain it about a world that is entirely Shabbat, because that is about the day of Shabbat. Sorry, hit the wrong button, right? Because it speaks about the reward given to tzaddikim. When will the reward of the tzaddikim come? Those who are planted in the house of Hashem, le'olam haba. And the idea here, says the Aruch Laner, we talked about this, I think, last time we learned this chapter of Tehillim as well, is the idea that the reason why Shabbat is not mentioned here is because it's not talking about the Shabbat of the past, but it must be about the Shabbat of the future, written into the fabric, if you will, of the cosmos at the time of creation is, A, it won't last forever, but B, the signal that it's come to the end is also the signal that finally those who will be judged for the positive, or God forbid its opposite, that will all finally become clear. That is here in this chapter. Keep reading in the chapter. It talks about the wicked seeming to prosper, and then ultimately their punishment, and the tzaddikim surviving and receiving a renewal. So again, those who are older will come back. They'll be refreshed. They'll be young again. Says the Malbim. That's what's going on here in this song. This is the song about good and evil. It's a song specifically about the notion that there's a God running in the world and that we have to make a choice and recognize that we have free choice. Even though God has hidden his providence from the eyes of the masses, he did this in order to enable us to have free will. And so Shabbat is the day on which we remember that somewhere in the future, there will be a reckoning where all of the evil in the world will be wiped away, where the righteous of the world will be justly rewarded. We don't see that now, but on Shabbat, we clear our mind and we think, we understand the world is not just the dimensions of what we see, but there are dimensions that we do not see. And that's the idea. Ve'en sheyom Shabbat hu edut al ha'anhaga hashgachatit v'sheha'olam lo nimsar el ha'teva v'hamikra. And therefore, the day of Shabbat becomes an assertion, affirmation. There is a God in the world, and he's running things. And it's not just left up to nature and happenstance. I would say, in a way, it makes Shabbat the perfect day to declare God as the king of the universe. What do we mean we keep calling HaKadosh Baruch Hu the Melech? The point of the Melech is that the Melech oversees, supervises, and is actually running things, as opposed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu just as the Borei Olam, the creator. That's the watchmaker theory, that the watchmaker made a watch, he wound it up, and he left. And whatever happens after that happens. So our big assertion over and over again, our affirmation of our emunah is exactly this. So the idea, therefore, that Shabbat itself, and this is sort of what the Aruch Laner is speaking about, it's true. It doesn't speak much about the celebration of Shabbat per se. Instead, it talks about the theme of Shabbat as the point of the week, where a person says, I'm living in the here and now. I affirm what I know now and what I believe now, and I know that this is coming in the future. The actual act of saying it becomes an affirmation, and that's the Aruch Laner here. He thinks that Rabbi Akiva is not saying that it has nothing to do with the Shabbos of today or the Shabbos of creation, but Davka, from the time of the Shabbos of creation until today, that we see that there is going to be judgment happening in the world. We believe that there will be judgment happening. And who was that judgment first meted out against? Adam Harishon. When? On the first day of creation, a Friday. And when did he get his reprieve? Immediately after that. It was immediately after that he went into Shabbos. Breshit Rabbah. The first person to ever do tshuva that we have a record of, or at least have a conversation with Hashem after he sinned, is Cain. It doesn't say anything about Adam Rishon. So the Medrash fills in the gap. Pagabo Adam Rishon, Cain met his father, Adam Rishon, his father asked him, what happened in your court case with God? You killed Hevel. Asiti tshuva v'nit pasharti. Cain says, I repented, and there was a compromise, if you will. I was given some kind of a reprieve. He wasn't killed. He was punished. They had to wander, but he wasn't killed. Hitchel Adam Rishon, but the Pechapanav Adam Rishon started smacking his own head. He said, "Oy, Amarkachi Kochad Shel Tshuva, Vanilo Yodea." That's the power of tshuva. I didn't even know. So immediately, says the Madrash, Amad Adam Rishon v'Amar Mizmor Shilim HaShabbat. What is Mizmor Shilim HaShabbat? So you can look in the words. It's a song, music, a song for the day of Shabbat. It is good. Lehodot LaHashem means to give thanks to Hashem, but could also be read as Tov Lehodot LaHashem. It is good to confess to Hashem. And that's the sense here in which the Medrash means it. Rabbi Levi, same Rabbi Levi that we had at the very beginning of this Shir. Hamizmor Zeh Adam Rishon Amaro. Adam Rishon first said it. Nishtakach Midoro. It was forgotten from his generation. Ubamos v'chitzu al shmo. Mizmor Shema Shabbat of Lahodot LaHashem. It is good to give thanks. It is good to confess to Hashem one's sins. And just a beautiful idea that Mizmor Shema Shabbat is also the Mizmor about the possibility of tshuva. Yes, justice meted out for the righteous and the wicked, but also the capability of the human being to change their judgment. Utshuva, utfil, utstakam, zera. So tshuva is being referenced each time on Shabbos. Hasidim like to say tshuva and Shabbat. The word Shabbat means like the word v'shavta, like in Parshat Nitzavim that we have now. V'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha, v'shavta v'shabbat la Hashem Elokecha. The same letters, meaning to return to Hashem. Okay, it's a bit of a play on words, but okay. Last source, Mizmor Shema Shabbat. What's this? The Yom Shekulo Shabbat. Ein bo lo achil lo shtia. There's no eating and no drinking in that day that is completely Shabbos. There's no business. There's no procreation. There's only one thing. Tzadikim yoshvim v'oskim b'torah v'achotem b'roshayim v'nenim b'ziv hashchin v'machal v'mishteh. The tzadikim will sit and they'll be engaged in learning Torah, and their crowns will be on their heads, and they'll be enjoying from the presence of Hashem in the world. And they will be eating and in a form that will look like eating and drinking, but it's not literally. Shenamar, as it says in the Torah in Parshat Mishpatim, Vayechezu et Elokim, Vayochlu vayishtu. They saw God, so to speak, and they ate and they drank. Not literally, they ate and they drank it in. These are not literal words. The Rambam writes in Hilchot Tshuva, doesn't mean literally. There's nothing bodily about the world beyond this world. The point is, it's an analogy for us to understand, and that's what Ein Olam Haba means on Shabbat. You should give us a day that is completely Shabbos and rest for all time. What's that? The Yom Shekulo Shabbat. It's actually this period of time, meaning it's going to happen. We hope we're going to be among those tzaddikim sitting and studying Hashem's Torah with the crowns proverbially on our heads, spiritually on our heads, and so to speak, enjoying from the radiance of the divine presence. Last line here for today. Bashishi Barat Adam. Lama. Why did God create the human being Dafka on a Friday? Why is that Rosh Hashanah? Kadeshi Kanes L'Seudat Shabbat Miyad, so that he could go eat his Shabbos meal immediately. And the Seudat Shabbat here is not the Seudat Shabbat, just literally of filling his stomach, but the Seudat Shabbat of being able to be closer to and in the presence of a Kodesh Baruch Hu in the world by being able to feel that he has a connection to a Kodesh Baruch Hu and to already feel in this world a prefiguring of the world to come. That's what we're doing also in Rosh Hashanah. That's what it means. Bayomahu Yashem ve'Yashem l'melech kol haaretz. Bayomahu Yashem echad ushmo echad. That Hashem will be the king over the whole universe, On that day, he is one, and his name will be one, meaning his reputation will be united with what we know and see in this exact chapter of Tehillim. Let me stop here. I did a lot of talking. For questions or comments, and if not, I'll say goodbye to everybody. Yes, no? Okay. All right then. Ad kan for today. I wish everyone iktiva v'chatima tova la'altul chaim tovim u'lishalom. And God willing, we will see each other in some way over the next period of time. This actually today concludes the series for now of Soul of the Siddur, and I'll go on to other series and other topics after 3 years plus of this series every Tuesday morning. Ad kan for now, and maybe someday I'll pick up other parts of the davening and we'll do more along these lines. Have a great